Hi everyone, so this is part two for genetics associated with autism, and today we're going to be talking about the mTOR pathway. So in the last video, we talked about these genes over here. We talked about PTEN, TSC1, TSC2, FMRP, FMR1, pretty similar in their function. So what I want to talk about today is what these are and kind of what the mTOR pathway is. So first, as a quick overview, PTEN, TSC1, FMRP, all of these genes are basically genes that have been thought to be associated with autism. Another gene I want to add on is NF1, the gene that encodes for neurofibromatosis, neuromatosis. Around 10% of people who have the mutation meet the diagnostic criteria for ASD. Okay, so these genes over here influence this pathway called the mTOR pathway. So the mTOR pathway is really a pathway that regulates cells. So their protein synthesis, synapse formation, dendrite branching, etc., etc. You can kind of see why modifications in this pathway would have a significant impact on social interaction and interests, which are the primary diagnostic criteria for autism. So these genes over here are big influencers of the mTOR pathway. So scientists have obviously been targeting this through two drugs, which are rapamycin and lovastatin. Okay, so basically, these two drugs, the main things you need to know about them is first the name of the two drugs and that they work on the mTOR pathway. So let me just write these down. So you need to know number one, the names. Number two, that they work on the mTOR pathway. And number three, what they actually do. So these drugs work as an inhibitor, right? So how I really like to remember this, right, is that lovastatin or any of these tumors, these genes, right, so PTEN, TSC1 or 2, these are all supposed to be controls for tumor related disorders. So PTEN, in particular, when scientists modified and altered the gene so it made the pathogenic variation of it, they found in mice that those mice exhibited anxious, antisocial, and very ASD-like symptoms, right? So symptoms that resembled ASD. So PTEN and TSC1, the mutation in these genes, for some reason, are causing ASD-like symptoms. And since these all are basically tumor regulators, and in the ASD pathology for people who have the disorders associated with them, they tend to have tumors generating for them, right? So TSC complex, people who have the TSC complex tend to have a production of tumors, as I said in the last video, in multiple organs, which tells you that the mTOR pathway is working overtime because they are responsible for protein synthesis and synaptic plasticity, etc. It's working overtime, causing tumors. So the best way to fix the problem is to use an inhibitor to stop the production and to thus help resolve the issue. So that's a very brief overview of it. It's just to look at genetic diagrams. I talked a little bit more on how to read those diagrams in a prior video. So please make sure you watch that if you need any help. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.